Over the past few years, manufacturers have faced rising costs, supply chain disruptions, and geopolitical uncertainty. Manufacturers that were reliant on a single supplier were vulnerable to the risks of paying higher prices or not being able to ship out products at all. This is what created the China Plus One strategy. For me, it's not about leaving China, it's about building supply chain resilience and ensuring long-term supply chain stability. But what exactly is the China Plus One strategy? Why are so many companies adopting it, and how can you implement it successfully? Stick around and we'll cover this in today's video. But first, if you can hit that like button, I would really appreciate that. As we know, China has been the world's manufacturing powerhouse for decades, and companies view them as the obvious choice for production. But now companies are motivated by increasing costs, tariffs, and other factors to seek alternative countries for production. Rather than outright abandoning China, you should use them for the processes and the knowledge they have an advantage in, and leverage the low-cost labor in other countries for labor-intensive assembly. While change can be hard and moving your supply chain is just a scary thought, there are a number of reasons why manufacturers should adopt the China Plus One strategy. For now, I'll go over two of them. First is building supply chain resilience. If the past few years have taught us anything, it's that supply chains are fragile. Trade wars, COVID, and even port congestions have shown how risky it is to rely on a single supplier. By diversifying suppliers, companies create backup options. If one supplier faces disruptions, production can continue elsewhere. This region is not led by cost reduction, but to ensure that your operations are running smoothly no matter what happens. The second reason looks a bit more into cost and is to optimize prices and competitive labor rates. China's labor and operational costs have been rising for years, and this really was expected. Increased overhead and higher wages have made production even more expensive. Meanwhile, countries like Thailand, Vietnam, and India offer significantly lower labor rates. Therefore, companies can now diversify their supply chain while also taking advantage of lower costs in other countries. So, the China Plus One strategy probably makes a bit of sense. But how do you actually make it work? Transitioning part of your supply chain to another country isn't something you can do overnight. It requires careful planning. Here are some steps that you can take to make it a little bit less stressful. First, start with a simple product. This is, of course, if you can. One of the biggest mistakes companies make is trying to shift their most important or complex product first. Instead, start with something simple, something with a bit fewer components. This allows you to test the waters, work out logistical challenges, and build supplier relations before committing to larger scale production. The second is figuring out if a dual sourcing strategy makes sense for you. Moving things overnight is not the best move either. Starting out, most companies choose to dual source by splitting production between China and another location. However, dual sourcing is not really for everyone. While it sounds nice in theory, it mostly works for companies that have higher volume production or products that can be easily standardized across multiple factories. The third step is to get your documentation in order. Moving production isn't just about finding a supplier. It's about ensuring that the output from each location is consistent. And many companies underestimate how much documentation is needed to replicate production successfully. Before shifting any manufacturing, make sure you have detailed engineering drawings, material specifications, and quality control guidelines. The more precise your documentation, the smoother the transition will be. The fourth step is conducting a pilot run. Never jump straight into mass production. Even with the best planning, there will always be unexpected challenges when launching a new product in a new location. A small-scale production test allows you to identify quality issues, understand the production speed, and work out the kinks before committing to mass production. The last step is to maintain clear communication with your suppliers. As you guys already know, strong supplier relations is key, whether you're working with a new partner or an existing one in a different region. Communication is really going to be everything. Be clear about expectations, conduct regular audits, and stay proactive in solving potential issues. The goal isn't just to find a backup factory, it's to build long-term and reliable supply chain. The China Plus One strategy isn't just a trend. It's an approach to build supply chain resilience to reduce risk with a single location and to reduce costs. To make it work, start small. You don't need to transfer everything at once. Test the waters in a specific location and see how it works. Also, if you need somewhere to start, then just reach out. I would be happy to discuss this with you. I hope you guys have a better understanding of what the China Plus One strategy is. If you have found this helpful, then please like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you do have any questions, then just please comment below and I'll get back to you. Thank you everyone for watching.